Welcome to Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. Two talented Native musicians offer new melodic but complex recordings that add to their creative journeys. Tseen's second full-length album, Stand on My Shoulders, is packed with rhythmic and layered songs with an impressive stable of collaborations. And Cochemea Castellum finishes an ambitious trilogy project with Volume 3, Ancestros Futeros. We'll talk to both artists about what goes into their work coming up after the news.
This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. In Wyoming, lawmakers backtracked this week on what many, including some lawmakers, believed was a big proposed cut to tribal Medicaid funding. Wyoming Public Radio's Hannah Haberman has more.
Earlier this month, the Joint Appropriations Committee voted to deny a $58 million request from the Wyoming Department of Health for federal funding for tribal Medicaid reimbursements. The move was met with pushback and protest. But this week, Representative John Baer told the Tribal Relations Committee those funds will come through.
I just want to make it really clear that the funding was never, ever in jeopardy. These are accounting issues that we're trying to work through.
Baer is the co-chair of the Joint Appropriations Committee. He originally voted for the cut, but this week said there was a workaround with what's called a B11, which he hadn't mentioned in the original meeting.
Then they get the reimbursement after the activity is taken care of for the tribal member.
Now, Baer says the committee will authorize the funding for the Department of Health before the session starts. But at current reimbursement rates, that'll be more like $41 million rather than $58 million. I'm Hannah Haberman.
The trial of Native advocate Nick Tilson ended in a hung jury this week. Tilson's still indicted, and the state has the option to drop the charges or press forward. As South Dakota Public Broadcasting CJ Keene reports.
Tilson is the president and CEO of Indian Collective, a Rapid City-based indigenous advocacy nonprofit. It's known for its projects which advance Native living conditions and its protests of President Donald Trump's attendance of Mount Rushmore. For this case, Tilson is charged with alternative charges of aggravated assault or simple assault against law enforcement. The jury was unable to reach unanimous verdict, leading to a mistrial. Both charges are felonies, and Tilson also faced a misdemeanor obstruction charge. The next steps are in the hands of the state. The Pennington County State's Attorney's Office could drop the charges or push for a new trial. The incident in question dates to June 11, 2022. On that day, footage shows Tilson pulling into a parking space where an officer was standing. In that video, the truck pulls into the parking space, stops short, and moves forward again. The officer was interacting with an unhoused community member. According to reports by the Rapid City Journal, he was stopped for jaywalking. Nobody was struck by the vehicle, but the state contends this was an effort to intimidate the officer or put him in fear of bodily harm. Tilson's defense hinged on his organizations to do community care. In other words, watching police, ensuring officers are operating in line with laws and ensuring community members know their rights during police interactions. For this, Tilson faced over 25 years in prison for what he contends was a human mistake. In a press release following the mistrial, Tilson writes, quote, "I'm grateful for everyone who stood with me through this latest iteration of this lengthy legal battle. The support of my family, lawyers, spiritual leaders, medicine people, and community means everything to me. The fight is not over." At this time, it's unclear if the state will seek another trial against Tilson. For National Native News, I'm CJ Keene in Rapid City.
Oglala Sioux Tribal President Frank Starr comes out has issued a proclamation banning ICE and associated Border Patrol agents from entering the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. It's in response to ICE activities and recent shootings in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The proclamation states U.S. Border Patrol is assisting ICE in, quote, unlawful conduct against Native people in Minneapolis. Meanwhile, Minnesota tribes, including the Red Lake Nation and Mille Lacs Band, are closing tribal government operations Friday as part of a nationwide strike. ICE Out, No Work, No School, No Shopping is in protest of the ICE presence in Minneapolis. I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Support for law and justice-related programming provided by Hobbs, Strauss, Dean & Walker, LLP, a national law firm dedicated to promoting and defending tribal rights for over 40 years. More information available at hobbsstrauss.com.
Hear that? Tribal college faculty do so much, one can't say it all here. Nothing but respect. Visit mostthoroughdescription.com. The American Indian College Fund supports this program.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.
This is Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. The music on Cochemea Gastelum's latest album, Volume 3, Ancestros Futuros, is an exploration of memory and dreams influenced by the spiritual jazz of Alice Coltrane and Cochemea's own Yaqui heritage. His latest album is the last in a trilogy that draws on more than 25 years in the music business as both a solo artist and a session musician, collaborating with artists like singer Sharon Jones, saxophonist Archie Shepp, and the hip-hop duo Run the Jewels. Tseen is a musical collaboration led by Tlingit and Onungan multidisciplinary artist Nicholas Galanin. His latest studio album, Stand on My Shoulders, experiments with many different musical styles with an electronic pop twist. Themes that run through his latest work include collectivism and connection to the land. Today on our Native playlist, we'll talk with both men about their new music and play samples off their albums. And as always, listeners, you can join us with comments and questions. Just give us a call. The number is 1-800-996-2848. That is also 1-800-99-NATIVE. Joining us now on Zoom from Sitka, Alaska, is Nicholas Galanin. He is a multidisciplinary artist and the lead musician for Tseen, and of course he is Tlingit and Onungan. Nicholas, good morning and welcome back to Native America Calling.
Good morning. Great to be back. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's great to have you. Now, it's been about 5 years since the release of your last album, Indian Yard. And this new album, it features a lot of different rhythms and soundscapes. Did you have a guiding vision for how you wanted your sound to evolve?
I don't feel like there's a plan going into the music studio. It's more of a feeling. So I feel like this project, there was, it's entering the space and then just kind of documenting ideas for a while. There was maybe 80 songs going into this record that were, they weren't finished songs, but I approached them. And as things clear and take shape, I think the vision of the project becomes more apparent. So, yeah. I don't think I can approach music that way otherwise. I feel like to approach it with a plan that's direct and as an intention is not part of the process. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me more about some of the themes you explored and just the overall creative push, because in the album's liner notes, you refer to collective responsibilities for future generations. And I like that. I think that's interesting, and I think that'll resonate with a lot of listeners.
Sure. Thematically, there's always a few things that are threaded, I feel like, in my creative practice. One is like removing border and boundary is always part of my practice. So that can show up in a lot of different ways. But as Indigenous people, we're always faced with definitions and boundaries and borders, literal borders or borders and boundaries of what is us authentically, what is who we are, or who we can be. And I feel like sonically this project escapes that and does so by example. I feel like the collective aspect of the work is always grounded in relationship to humanity. So in this record, there's forms of um, human relationship, whether it's personal or whether it's generational. Both of those things are tied into this project in different ways through lyric. Yeah.
Well, let's hear one of the tracks from the new album. This is called Twilight. We'll take a listen and then we'll talk more about it.
Great.
In the trance, on the ledge, don't go UFO. Dissonance, easily entertained. Residents, long away. Empty tank, oh no, I don't float, I will fly away. In the rain, open eyes while they pray. Elegant, God is red. Sometimes love just fades away. I can disappear like magic. I can disappear like magic. Sometimes love just fades away.
All right, that song. I'm sorry, Nicholas. I made a mistake. That is not Twilight. That song is Digital Winter, and it's off the new album Stand on My Shoulders. Really like that sound, especially now. We were just talking before we went to air about the winter weather right now, it being towards the end of January. And tell me more about this track and how you went about crafting Digital Winter.
Sure. This was actually the first song on the record in the process of exploring ideas that real. This was the first one that was realized, like, this is going to go on the record. This is, it revealed itself first. And I feel like the tone and content and lyrics of this song are relevant to the experience of time in a lot of ways. So the reference of digital and winter, um, and the title can reference things like our lives. Our lives are lived digitally in different ways. Uh, some of the things that come to mind when I think about that is like, media and algorithm, um, even AI right now, when you think about how we have to filter, for truth, right? We have to filter for access to um, those things. And the constant march is kind of represented, I feel like, in this song too. The constant march of the volume of information that we are kind of, it's in our hands, it's on our devices. And I relate that to things like, even the lyric, open eyes while they pray. And I don't know, if you've grown up around like colonial religion in a way, and it doesn't make sense to you. So you're looking around at people while they're, having their spiritual prayer that doesn't align or make sense to your connection to land.
Mm.
Those things are kind of embedded into this song in different ways. So
Yeah. Yeah, that really makes me think a lot. And like you mentioned, just all that information out there, and yeah, spirituality.
and
Good stuff.
and this
Really
was
good stuff, Nicholas.
this was
We're going to take a short
the
break. We're going to come back. We'll talk more. We'll play another track.
Great.
And, of course, we got the phone lines open for listeners. Maybe someone up in Alaska right now. You are a fan of Tseen. Give us a call. We'd like to hear from you. 1-800-99-NATIVE. In a show of sovereignty, a handful of tribes are limiting or prohibiting immigration agents on reservation land. Some other tribes are reaching out with help documenting tribal citizenship and guidance on what to do when approached by ICE. We'll look at ways some tribes are responding to increased pressure by federal authorities on the next Native America Calling.
Repatriation is the return of ancestors and stolen culture. The Association on American Indian Affairs is hosting the 11th annual Repatriation Conference, Feeding the Fire, Advancing the Movement, in February 2026. This fully virtual conference will offer small group interactive workshops, strategies, networking, and more to advance domestic and international repatriation. More at Indian-Affairs.org. The association supports this show.
Thank you for tuning in to Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce, and we are celebrating Native music today with two talented composers with new albums out. We're talking first with Nicholas Glennon, also known as Tseen, which is also the name of this creative project behind the new album Stand on My Shoulders. And listeners, of course, please, we welcome you. Join the conversation. You just call 1-800-996-2848. The number is also 1-800-99-NATIVE. And you can also comment on our website and social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads. Take your pick. We just want you to engage with us here on Native America Calling. And Nicholas, tell us more about Tseen and how the group came about. And I imagine people ask you a lot to kind of define the sound or describe the sound, but how do you do that? Or can you do it? I mean, is it kind of like a basic question sometimes to ask, or is it a little bit more complex than that?
Yeah, Tseen was a evolution. So, all of these music projects have their life. And this was, the first record when we signed to Sub Pop Records, which is a Seattle record label. It was a shift, and it was like an intentional shift. It was an intentional shift of sound and approach, musically. I learned I love collaboration. I love collaborating with musicians and artists, and records and projects are an opportunity to like explore those potential spaces. And this became a form of that. I don't know. I think people count like collaborators when they look at a project and be like, there's a lot of collaborators on this. But music is that. Music is community. Music is and the performance of music is community. Even without collaborators, it is, because the audience is there and they're part of it in a different way. So I love that about the process. And yes, sonically, there's no genre in this. And again, I tie that back to the earlier conversation of a practice that removes borders and boundaries, because sometimes we don't need those things to exist. So
I also want to ask you about the album cover. It's a print, and it's based off a photo of your father in his ceremonial regalia. Tell me more about the influence that he has had, not just on this album, but also all of your art, because you do so much more than just music.
yeah, the work and the cover is a monoprint that's currently on exhibit in an exhibition in Juneau. The exhibition's titled Gestures of Our Rebel Bodies, curated by Kimberly Fulton Orozco and Ursula Hudson. And the print is is part of my visual practice. When I make these prints, I reference memory and gesture. And my father was a mentor and a visual artist, a musician, who supported my development as all of these things in continuum. It became kind of a way of honoring the love that was required to the love that exists after you walked into the forest. And it was an acknowledgement of how, and even in ceremony, our atu, our regalia, those things remain. Even our clan names remain for others to like continue and hold. And the reference of stand on my shoulders is how we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors and our elders that have provided space for us to become stewards or keepers of knowledge, and how we're allowed to also make new ideas that still honor those forms of knowledge. So
Well, let's hear another song from the album. This one is titled Taste on My Lips, and it features collaborations like you mentioned, one of whom is Portugal the Man. Let's listen to it and we'll talk more. That was the song Taste on My Lips. Definitely very danceable track there. Really like that groove. Nicholas, tell me more about this collaboration and what it took to put everyone together.
Yeah, that was, I mean, the lineup on that song of collaborators to me is artists I admire for in a lot of ways, I feel like. So that featured Portugal the Man. So John Gurley was singing on that. Michelle Ndegeocello was playing bass on that. Sidibe is also singing on that. Um, it's a song that was written after performing in Minnesota, Minneapolis. We did a show in Minneapolis at First Ave, which is this iconic music venue, and I learned while being like kind of walking around the space and the history of that venue. Learned about Prince's impact in the past on that in that venue, and I would say there was a lot of inspiration from that and from Prince's work directly. Michelle Ndegeocello is a friend and incredible artist in her own right, and Michelle uh, recorded the bass line, the bass on that song, and contributed in a lot of ways. I think that really carries it forward. So, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that track. Really, really good sound. Exciting here, Nicholas. What do you have planned next? What's in store? And also just some of your other artwork. I was admiring some of the photographs that you have on your website, some of your carvings. Just what are you hoping to do here in 2026? The year's just getting started.
We're gonna play some more shows. I know that we have just announced some festival shows. So we're playing in Portland. I think we play some Pacific Northwest shows. We just came off of tour with Portugal the Man on the West Coast. So that was really enjoyable. I'm working on a kutia right now in my community, so a totem pole, and that's a meditation of time. It's a long project. Traveling for some biennials, for some art biennials. I go to Qatar this weekend to do some site visits for a public art project. Yeah, things are, just continual over here.
Yeah, for sure. Busy, continual, inspiring. Nicholas, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your music, your sound, and just listening to you and just describing, how you put it all together. Really enjoy talking to you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Miss Cheese.
You bet. You bet. Let's bring our next guest into the conversation now, who joins us from Los Angeles, California. And this is Cochemea Castellum, a Yaqui musician. Cochemea, good morning. Welcome to Native America Calling. Good to have you on the show today.
Good morning. Thank you. Great to be here.
You bet. Now, let's talk about your latest album, Volume 3, Ancestros Futuros. And this is the third album that looks to explore a spiritual connection between your art and your ancestry. Has that become more defined for you over the course of this 3-volume project?
Yeah, it has. It's been an arc, that kind of revealed itself as the work progressed, I would say. When we recorded the first record, it was really just a gathering of musicians. It started with an idea, which was like, let's take some of these, instead of melody on like a regular instrument be the focal point, let's put the melodies in the drums. So that was kind of how the concept began. And then from there, it just kind of organically fell into place. We just called all of our musicians who we know and love And we had a one-day session with no material brought in, just improvising. And from that session, things just started to kind of roll, and I wrote some tunes. I had just left New York City, and I had moved to upstate New York, so I was in nature. And, it was just such a different gear shift that I was able to slow down and just be, in the woods. And lots of times, and deer were always coming through my front yard, and bears sometimes. And so I think that really got into the music. And after we recorded it, and I'm talking about the record, All My Relations, it just sort of all kind of like, it became just this meditation on just interconnectedness. And also, interwoven with these family histories and these oral histories from my own family. And then, but it was very based in the present time, it felt like for me, and just kind of where I was in my life and what was happening around me. And once we got to volume 2, the follow-up, it's called Baka Sewa, which is the pre-colonial last name of my family. And that became kind of a more of a looking back through archives and family histories and these different fragments that have been passed down. And I actually collaborated with family on it. The title track is actually, the melody's composed by my cousin Anthony Gastelum, and it is our family song. And I love the melody so much, and I had asked him for permission to record it as an instrumental, but then it just as we started talking, I asked him, would you come down and perform the song? And he came down from Alaska, and we gathered family members and other members of his singing group, and he sang the song with the melody that he composed. And he had actually made a drum that for his father, my uncle, when he had passed away. So it was a very special moment, him singing our family song on this drum that he made honoring his father, with his son playing drum and my cousins and just these generations of family, singing our family song for this album. And then for volume 3, which was really kind of a looking forward, volume 3 is like, what thinking about future ancestors and what the generation, what are we leaving to the next generation? What are we doing now that, will have echoes in the future? And kind of like imagining this sort of like future that's really rooted in survival. So that's sort of like the progression of things. And I think it's, but all the records I think talk to each other and are in dialogue with each other. There's some callbacks to different things. And okay. I think it's just, I imagine them all as like these chapters in like this larger story.
The album, titled Volume 3, Ancestros Futuros. We'll continue our conversation and hear some music after this break.
Tribal Development Partners, helping tribes build toward their goals through 105L leasing and essential facility development, empowering sovereignty, strengthening community. More at tribaldevpartners.com, proud supporters of this show.
Ready to expand your reach and inspire change? Kaufman & Associates crafts culturally grounded communication strategies for Native audiences. More at kaufmaninc.com, KAUFFMANINC.com.
We're glad you're with us today on Native America Calling. We're talking now with multi-instrumentalist Cochemea Gastelum. His latest album is titled Ancestros Futuros, and it is the third in a trilogy of albums. Of course, we'd love to hear from some listeners this hour as well. You can join the conversation at 1-800-996-2848, or you can leave a comment on our website and social media channels. Cochemea, I want to play a song off the album now for our listeners. This is actually the title track. Let's take a listen. That was part of the song Ancestros Futuros from the album of the same name by our guest, Cochemea. And Cochemea, I like this song too. It's got a familiar rhythm, kind of a lighter melody. And I understand you explored your own heritage. You looked into folk tales and ancestral stories for this album. How does that all end up? How did it all come together for the sound that we're hearing now?
Did a lot of research for the record. I knew that I just wanted to have this, kind of like looking back at the last two records of kind of thinking about them occupying these notions of temporality, for lack of a better word, like past and present. And I just wanted to sort of time travel and think about, just this idea of like what would it be of a future ancestor looking back, and what kind of world they are inhabiting, and this sort of like calling back and forth. And so in research, I started researching some Yaqui stories, and I came across this story of during the wars between the government in Mexico with my ancestors. This midwife who would take the navels out of the babies and bury them in the ground so that they would rise up and retake the land. And I've read other stories that are similar, like with the Zapatistas, and so some of the stories from the Lacandan jungle and Chiapas. And it just kind of got me thinking about, survival and, is a continuum across generations. And so that was just kind of the seed of the idea. And so that's kind of I would say kind of the cornerstone of the idea of the title track, Ancestros Futuros.
All right, let's go to the phones.
Oh, sorry.
Let's take a phone call, and we'll come back. We'll
Sure.
talk more, Cochemea. This is Michael. He's a regular listener. He lives in Jemez Pueblo in New Mexico. He listens to the show on KUNM Radio out of Albuquerque. Michael, good to have you on the show today. How you doing?
All right, Sean. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm on my lunch break. Sometimes I don't get much of a lunch break, but today I did. I tuned in and I heard the song, and the song that just played, it reminded me of border town music, like you walk into a so-called Indian bar like Blue Spruce or Powwow Club or something like that, and you hear this live band on stage playing this music, and everybody just, on a high pitch wake up call, that everybody's just lively, It could be played any time of the evening, just everybody would just perk up, and you could see the gleam in their eye and the smile in their face, and if they have a lovely significant other, then it solidifies that also.
Yeah, Michael, thanks for calling in. If I had a dime for every time somebody asked me if my family owned the old Blue Spruce, I'll tell you what, I could retire right now. Thank you again, Michael, from Jemez Pueblo, calling in, Walatoa. And Cochemea, I understand you've got roots in New Mexico yourself.
Yeah, my mom's side of the family is from New Mexico, in Grant County, actually. So, and I have a cousin who is in Albuquerque, actually probably several cousins. So kind of all throughout like the Silver City, Las Cruces area as well.
Very cool. Awesome. Now, I want to go back to your family and the legacy, because in Volume 2, you talked about your great-grandfather, and he was a pearl diver. And I'm just interested to know, are there stories about your grandfather that were on your mind that were carried over to this new album?
Well, yeah, there were. And my great-grandfather was a pearl diver. A lot of Yaquis were pearl divers. The Yaquis are expert divers. And there was a time when that was huge industry along the Sea of Cortez. So both on the peninsula, Baja Peninsula side and on the mainland side. So I knew he was a pearl diver, and I was just thinking about but the stories kind of evolved from there. There's not a lot of information about my great-grandfather. So the things that I got from like my uncles and my aunties, and I would just kind of piece these things together and sort of create this kind of like narrative. So there's this song called Black Pearl, on volume 2, which is really just kind of like imagining this sort of just inhabiting this sort of existence that, or maybe like daily kind of existence that he might have had. But a lot of these, family stories, since they come in these little fragments, I try to fill in the gaps with music, and with sound, and kind of create a story using music as the form.
We have time for one more song, Cochemea, and this one is titled Procession of Spirits. But before we play it, I want to ask, will Michael hear that border town sound in this song, or does it have a different vibe to it?
I love that he said that. It's a bit of a different vibe.
Okay. All right. Let's take a listen. That was the song Procession of Spirits by Cochemea off his latest album, Volume 3, Ancestros Futuros. And yeah, Cochemea, not quite the border town sound, but still a really, really nice track. Loved to listen to that one as well. And what's also really fascinating here is this album, you recorded and mixed it live to an 8-track analog tape, and that's really going old school. Tell me more about the motivation for that, and what kind of preparation went into that for you and the other musicians on the whole album.
Yeah, well, all the records that we've made, that I've made for Daptone, are always on tape. So it's just the way that we like to work, and the way that my producer Bosco Mann works. So, I mean, there's one thing about the sound, of course, but there's another thing that I really like about the process, which is like when it's recorded to tape, you really have to commit to the performance. And we're all in the room at the same time. So, a lot of times when people are recording digitally, they'll, they can overdub, kind of ad infinitum. But with this process, we have to there has to be a lot of preparation beforehand. So I'll make demos for the band. There's a pre-production process of just writing and getting the arrangements kind of like more or less there. But also once we're in the studio, like I like to leave it a little open-ended, like not overly composed, so everyone has input, because everyone's a master musician and they have such a vast knowledge of rhythms. And so it really is very collaborative, So once we get in the studio, everyone will arrange the songs together, and we'll take kind of like the basic demo and we'll work it out and we'll kind of spatialize everything across all the drums and instruments. And we set up in a circle so we can all see each other. And then once we all agree on an arrangement, we'll just start cutting it. And, we'll usually do a few takes until we feel like we have it. And then we'll just move on. And that's how the process just kind of unfolds. And we did this album, I think, in the course of a week. And then right after, I'll stay and I'll mix it. So it's all kind of like in this sort of like very condensed period of time that I'm just kind of in the world with the musicians and with Bosco, the producer. So I really do like the process of being able to, of having to commit to something and just kind of like, so the preparation is, I'll do a lot of preparation beforehand in terms of just, playing the saxophone and playing my instrument, but also in the songwriting. But there is also a fair amount of just in the moment spontaneity that happens as well. That I think is great because it gets captured onto the tape.
For sure. Yeah. Now, you're going to be going out on your first headlining tour this year. Tell me more about that and just what else you have planned for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so this is my first headline tour. I did a tour supporting my first album, but it was an opening tour. So, and then my second record, it got released kind of right as COVID was still, on the tail end of it. So I didn't really have an opportunity to support it. So this is the first time I'm actually getting out there and supporting the music, which I'm super excited about. I have a great band. We're going to be doing the West Coast, San Diego, all the way up to Vancouver. And then I'll have some other, I also have a couple shows before that, Mass Mocha and a show up in Kingston, New York. And then I'm going to basically be going straight from that into an artist residency where I'll be developing some new work. And then after that, I'm going to go on tour for the summer with an artist I've been working with for the last several years, Kevin Morby, who has a new album coming out. So that's pretty much my schedule up until August.
Yeah, I was going to say, when are you going to sleep during all this time, Coach?
I'm going to try.
Yeah, right on. Well, it's good to be busy, and it's really good that you're able to take the time today to talk with us and share all your great music and just so much else you got going on with our listeners. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, so we're going to have to wrap up this conversation today, but big thanks to both Cochemea Gastelum and also Nick Galanin, who joined us today, musical artists on our show. And we're going to wrap it up, but we will be back on Monday, and we'll start the week off with a look at how tribes are responding to the ongoing federal government's nationwide immigration crackdown. Our executive producer is Art Hughes. Our producers are Andy Murphy, Sol Traverso, and Joe Thompson. Marino Spencer is the engineer. Sho McPoland is the digital producer. Nola Daves Moses is the distribution director. Bob Peterson is the network manager for Native Voice One. Clifton Chadwick is our national underwriting sales director. Antonia Gonzalez is the anchor for National Native News. Charles Sather is our chief operations officer. The president and CEO of Quantic Broadcast Corporation is Jacqueline Salee. Have a safe weekend. I'm Sean Spruce.
Every family caregiver could use help finding the necessary resources to care for their loved one. The AARP Family Caregiver Resource Guide helps family caregivers access key programs, services, and agencies in their communities. A copy of the guide is available by calling 877-333-5885 or online at aarp.org/caregiverresources. AARP supports this show.
The faculty of tribal colleges and universities support their students in countless ways. They say I believe and offer help before it's asked.
Hear that? That's everything tribal college faculty do for their students on Fast Forward. Because if one tried to say it in real time, they'd be here all day. They teach, guide, comfort, and connect. And for that, the community is grateful. Learn more at mostthoroughdjobdescription.com. The American Indian College Fund supports this program.
They give extensions, share progress, share laughter, create calm, and allow reflection. They inspire hope, share wisdom, guide gently, validate feelings.
Native America Calling is produced in the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico by Cochemea Broadcast Corporation, a Native nonprofit media organization. Funding is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with support from the Public Radio Satellite Service. Music is by Brent Michael Davids. Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.